Hello and welcome to another Squad Chief video. Today we're talking about the top 10 modern Horizon 2 cards to come to the format. I did a top 5, but it was too easy and I don't know, nothing exciting. The hard part was doing cards 6 through 10. 10 took like 10 minutes to figure out, asking a bunch of people, but I narrowed it down to what I believe. I know there's a lot of cards that are left out, but it was very hard picking this top 10 actually. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know what your personal top 10 was or what I'm missing. For number 10, let's get into it. It is Fury. So honorable mention would be Solitude. Solitude wasn't able to make it because I think Fury is just slightly better. Well, a little bit more than slightly. It's a bit better than Solitude, I would say. The ability to 3 for 1 your opponent, or 3 for 2, I guess. I've been blown out so many times by this card. It gives red a pseudo free removal spell. Like, sure, you're using 2 cards, but you get your value back from it. You're able to kill planeswalkers. You're able to kill the bolt. You're able to kill 3 small creatures. It gets around Thalia, which is very big. It's very good in red, mono red decks. It's very good in elemental based decks. It lets you have a lot of options from this card, and it's a finisher as well. 6 damage getting in is no joke at all. So I'm going to go with Fury as my number 10, and honorable mention would be Solitude. Okay. At number 9, we have Thought Monitor. This card has been phenomenal. It has enabled so many affinity strategies to come back, to be able to have that Thought Cast, but then have the 2/2 flyer with it. And one thing that goes above and beyond Thoughtcast is this combos so well with Emery. Being able to flash back a divination with Emery is insane. I've flashed it back, blocked, cast it again, and you just get so much value out of it. And so this is allowed for affinity based decks, for Asmo decks to come around, for blue white control affinity. There's so many options that have come around because of this card. And I think it is a powerhouse in modern, and is definitely here to stay, and I'm very happy to see it arrive. And at number 8, we have Prismatic Ending. This may be a little bit higher up on the list than a lot of you were expecting. Maybe you guys had it at a lower number, but I think it's one of the best removal spells. I slept on this card initially. I was so underwhelmed by it, but then playing with it and playing against it, it is so versatile. It has so many different options. It can remove anything, pretty much 2 CMC or less, but then being able to go all the way up to 4 CMC in some decks, splashing a Triumph has made a big difference. It's able to hit Planeswalkers, which is absolutely huge. Being able to have a turn 1 spell to kill a 1-drop is huge as well, because usually you have Path, and it feels awful giving your opponent a land with how quick Modern is. So I'm a huge fan of Prismatic Ending, and I think it's given control decks a lot safer of an option to use over Path, or even with Path. And it also gives 4-color decks, or like Niv Mizzet decks, that fatal push in its early game, but then the versatility to go up in the later game. And in that number 7, we have Unholy Heat. Probably the best removal spell printed in a long time, and one of the best ones to come to modern. Being able to kill almost any creature for 1 red mana is huge, but then also being able to kill planeswalkers as well for 1 mana is another big deal as to why this card is very strong and efficient. Delirium actually is a lot more attainable. Sure, some games you may be stuck on 3 types, not be able to get to that 4th type, but it is still very strong, and is also consistent enough that you hit Delirium enough that this usually is a deal 6. So it removes pretty much most creatures in all of Modern. Some things get a little bit too big, like Murktide Regent, but this is cheap, super efficient, and being able to kill planeswalkers as well as creatures is why I think it is the best removal spell in the set, and why I rated it higher than Prismatic Stranding is because you're able to be more cost efficient, but also in some decks you may only be stuck being able to remove CMC 2 or less. And so this hits a wider array of creatures and at instant speed. Well, Number 6 is Murktide Regent, an absolute house of a creature. Sometimes it'll be a 2 mana 8/8, exiling 5 instant and sorceries. It's allowed for a lot of strategies, and is it to be able to come out and dominate, I would say. It's a huge efficient threat that does not die to push, which is very, very relevant, and also not dying to stranding as well. And then getting out of the range of having 6 health and going over that makes it so Asmo can't kill it as well. So I think this card is an absolute house. It's really buffed up certain blue decks, but the top decks of Izzet have really utilized this. And I think this card will see more play in other decks as we go further, as people realize how good this card is. But for me, I put this as my number 6 card for the format, and I am a big, big fan of it. And let's get into the top 5 that everyone, I would say, guessed, but this 5th one might be a little bit, I wouldn't say controversial, but some people might have it here, some people might have it lower or higher, but it is a very good card, and that one is Dothy Voidwalker. Sorry for the poor quality, it was hard finding a good picture of it, but it has shadow, so basically it can't be blocked by anything in the format. And then the big thing is, it is main deck graveyard hate. Insane graveyard hate as well. I've had it where I've, through the Reach to Emrakul, swung, they didn't die. Emrakul died, and they got to Voidwalker it, and I lost because of it. It exiles any spells that go to your graveyard permanently with a counter on it, and then you can sack any Voidwalker after to cast that spell for free. So you get a free spell, which is insane. So if you don't remove it, this thing can take over the game and take your best spell and run you over. Or it's going to smack you down for 3, unblockable pretty much every turn. The card is a big threat, and it also has evasion, and it has graveyard hate, and it has an insane, very powerful ability. I wouldn't say overpowered, but very, very on the brink of overpowered ability. So that is my number 5. On to number 4, we have Asmarano Martika Dysnell Kuldakar. It is a 0 CMC, but it costs 1 to cast, but you need to have to discard a card on the same turn to be able to play it. The reason why this works out so well is because you have the cookbook. So cookbook would be on here, but it's mixed in with Asmo because they're part of the same card. You get to use Asmo to make as many food as you need, discarding cards, and then using that to be able to shoot down your opponent's creatures and control the board with this super efficient, cheap spell. It has allowed a lot of strategies based around the graveyard and based around Thought Monitor and Urza to be an artifact-based deck with the food that it makes, but also be a control-based deck with Asmo being able to kill everything. I think this card has utilized both the artifact strategy and the graveyard strategy to make a little bit of a hybrid, and it is very strong and efficient. So that's my number 4 for this list. On to number 3, we have Dragon's Rage Channeler. This is such an insane card. The Surveil that you get gives you so much value no matter what deck you're playing. And games where you get to go Dragon's Rage Channeler on 1 and then cast Mishra's Bauble to get a Surveil is absolutely insane. It's like half of a card drawn for free, essentially, and then you're already filling your graveyard with the Delirium as well. This card can be played in aggro decks, sort of like smaller control decks. It is played in mono red, red blue, anything red. You basically play this card. It is so efficient. It'll just become a 3/3 flyer. It's what everything Delver wanted to be was this card essentially. And it is good late game, and it's good early game, and it's good mid game. The fact that it is always good minus when you're in top deck mode and they have a removal spell, maybe that's like the one time you don't want to draw it. But it's a 1 mana 3/3 flyer. If it was just that, already insane. But the fact that you get to Surveil is what really pushes this card over the top to let you grind with every single deck. Number 2, Urza's Saga. I'm sure a lot of you maybe put this number 1, but as I've played more of the format and I asked everybody from stream, they all agreed with me that this was a solid number 2, and I agreed with them. It is insane. It gets to tutor up a 1 mana or 0 mana artifact after all its sagas go through. It is played in any variety of deck, whether it be mid range, aggro, control based strategies. It's an amulet, it's in affinity, it's in hardened scales. It fits everywhere. It is a super good card. I do not think it is too good to where it's like, oh no, emergency ban, but I think it is a very strong card that will see play as long as it's legal. And it'll see it play in a lot of decks because the versatility of making big giants and also being able to tutor up niche spells to help you in certain situations like Relic or Pith Needle is what pushes it up. But what keeps it down is it's an enchantment. You can Blood Moon it to kill it instantly. You can Alpine Moon to kill it instantly. Spreading Seas kills it instantly. Wear Tear, you pay 1 white, blow up the land. I think it is strong, but it also is vulnerable, which is why it's allowed to be in the format, because you can attack it quite easily and quite strongly. And for number one, the best card from Modern Horizons 2, hands down, is the Monkey. It does everything. It is aggressive. It is evasive. It draws you cards. It ramps you. I've had so many blowout games where just single-handedly Rogvon won me the game. I hit them. I hit Inquisition. I cast Inquisition. They can't remove it next turn. Dash it again. We just repeat ourselves. It gets so much value. 2-1. Very, very good body. Being able to dash, I've had it where they have had sorcery speed removal and instant speed, so they just had to keep taking all the hits. This card is absolute house. It goes into pretty much every single deck that is red. It can be played in control decks because it's so insane. It can be played in aggro decks, mid-range decks. It fits everywhere. But it is very vulnerable to any sorcery removal and only has 1 health, so it can be blocked by everything, which is what I hope will hold it down so we let it stay in the format, but you never know. But this is by far the best card in Modern Horizons. Let me know what you guys think of the top 10. What you would have put in here. I know there's a lot of good cards for Modern Horizons that have built a lot of good decks around them. But this is what I picked as the 10 most impactful, strongest, probably impactful. But yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below.